City Matters.
Welcome back here to hmTv and the Fog of War and Humanity. I'm your host, Richard Acritelli. To my left, we have an absolute gentleman with us this afternoon for our second episode, Mr. Clarence Simpson. He spoke about his days as being a kid in Harlem and all the fun and activities, energy of the city, and then moving almost to kind of the opposite in terms of being out in Manorville and the country and the farms, the ducks and potatoes, and being a very talented athlete. Soccer player, basketball player, track and field. His moments in college at Suffolk Community College, and then getting drafted as he was taking a little time off to earn a little extra money. Uncle Sam came calling, and you know, his process of going through the service in some ways was very local because he had many friends, familiar faces, people that he knew of here from this area of Long Island, where he ends up going to Fort Hamilton, Fort Dix, and then to Fort Lewis, right, in Washington. Mm-hmm. So right away, you get into Fort Lewis, right? You're in the Pacific Northwest. You're a Northeastern kid, right? You might be a city kid and a kid from Manorville. You're from the Northeast, right? Yeah. What's the Pacific Northwest like there?
Well, one thing about the Pacific Northwest, it's the most beautiful part of the country. I mean, it's just... Back then, I don't know. I was out there. Well, my wife and I, we were out there in '95. We spent I spent the month. She spent almost 3 months out there. But it's the most beautiful country. The people, they're really nice. They were really
very genuine, right?
Very genuine. I mean, just genuine people. Good fresh air, beautiful. The trees, you can look straight up forever with the trees and the natural environment, the waterfalls. It was just beautiful. The only problem is that it rains a lot.
Rains all the time.
Pretty much all the time.
Now, you move from Harlem, you go out to Manorville. You have a lot of country out there at that time. Mm-hmm. And you had a lot of older families out there, right? Mm-hmm. You drive out there now, you could see probably their names on street signs.
Right.
Right, with the large families.
We're out in Northwest.
Out in Manorville, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Now, you probably had some older families, very like sincere, hardworking, genuine. Like Carl Yastrzemski came from Bridgehampton and farmer, right?
Yeah.
Did you see any similarities out in Pacific Northwest compared to the people that were out on Eastern Long Island at that time?
No, it didn't. And the reason why I say that is because we were far and in between. Our schedule or our time was very limited.
Yeah.
We didn't go, we went to town, well, to Tacoma.
You weren't on a sightseeing tour.
Yeah, we were in the woods most of the time. I was, now, just to clarify, I was in the infantry. Okay, we were in a mechanized infantry unit. And most of the time, we were parading, in ceremony training, cleaning up our barracks, or we were out in the woods most of the time. Every now and then, we would get a weekend pass, and we'd catch a bus to Tacoma or catch a bus to Seattle. But by the time you really get to enjoy yourself, because here we are, you know, we're young kids. We don't have the money to rent a hotel room or anything like that.
A couple bucks in your pocket.
A couple of bucks in your pocket, and you stood out like a sore thumb anyway because you had your low quarters on, and you had your khaki pants, and you had the civilian shirt on. So most of the time, you just stayed inside the barracks or around a post.
And they could see the way you're walking.
Now and the haircut.
Haircut, right? You're upright. You're looking straight. You know, you got that military bearing, right?
And you're walking in 3s or 4s or 5s. You know, you're not walking by yourself, and you're looking around. You're looking for directions. So the times that you did go like maybe a couple of sergeants off duty. They would have a car and they would give us a ride to town and then ride us around to a couple of clubs and so forth.
Did you have any big towns outside of the base, because the base was fairly large, right?
Not close to the base.
Not close to the
Most of them were like Yelm, Rainier, little.
Because like Fort Dix, you have Wrightstown, right?
Yeah,
outside.
Wrightstown was right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But nothing really. I mean, you didn't really have time.
Yeah.
You didn't have time. I shouldn't even say we didn't. I did.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was sending a lot of my money home also. Savings bonds and so forth.
Yeah. You have something to come home to.
Yeah.
Now, your drill instructors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Were they drill instructors that were? Did you have anybody that was over there, because it's very early in the war, or were they older guys from Korea, or World War II, or anything like that?
Oh, I remember a couple of them. The one that I do remember distinctly is Sergeant Manaloha. And Sergeant Manaloha, I think he did 2 tours in Vietnam.
Wow.
Because he had a CIB with the badge. But he also, half of his face was burned. And he was tough. He was a tough guy. He was, and I think there was another one. I think Sergeant Harris. I'm not sure about Sergeant Harris, and but the other ones, they were like straight regular drill instructors. Brand new. Yeah.
The first one you spoke about, he must have commanded respect almost right away.
Oh yeah, yeah. Whenever he came around, everything would straighten up.
Everything would straighten up.
We had a platoon leader, Sergeant Lieutenant Likens. As a matter of fact, it's so funny that we're talking about this, because I was thinking about him a few months ago, and I Googled his name, Charles Likens, and he just passed away about 3 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where was he from? Do you know? Or
He was originally from Ocala, Florida.
wow.
And he was a young buck sergeant, and he went to OCS and became a officer. And there were 3 things that he told us when he introduced himself to us in the barracks. There's 3 things that we don't do. We don't pee in the wind. We don't eat the yellow snow. No, we don't pee in the wind. We don't eat the yellow snow, and we don't F with the kid. And he said that he was a kid.
He was a kid. I had a drill sergeant. He just got back from Somalia in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm going to make this very simple for you. If you don't screw with me, I don't screw with you.
Right.
If you mess with me, I got to get all over you. No problem. Yeah. Understood.
But he was good. He was good. He was, but he just passed away. He moved to, I think,
did he go
Oklahoma
back to Florida,
or Mississippi.
Okay.
Yeah, he lived and he had grandchildren. He shot a picture of him, and I said, "You can see the picture." I said, "That's Likens here."
Do you remember what rank he ended up making?
I think he ended up being a light colonel.
Lieutenant colonel.
Yeah, lieutenant colonel. Yeah, I think he became a lieutenant colonel. But he was one of the guys that one other guy that made an impression with me was. His name was Lieutenant Jesse James Jackson.
Jesse James, there you go.
And he was a graduate of, I think, Florida A&M. He was a lieutenant, and he used to get up every morning and run 2 miles.
Wow.
And he got me up and a couple other guys up and had us run 2 miles around the track. And, every morning. But I got to look him up too and see what he's doing.
Now, was there any one thing that you remember that was hard on you? That you?
I think the toughest part of the military and basic training, in the military itself, was just trying to adjust to being away.
Yeah.
Because
you're close with your mother and father.
Yeah.
You have other siblings as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. In the beginning, it was good to get away, and a lot of the guys that I went to high school with right after high school, they went in the military. Because back in those days in Eastern Long Island, what was there?
Not much.
There wasn't much there at all. So
too bad with the Air Force. Like, was Grabreski in West Hampton at that time?
that was West Hampton Air Force Base.
Too bad you couldn't get out there. You know, I was there for 5 years.
Yeah.
And that was a good place. A lot of history out there too.
I knew a lot of guys my age when I came home that was stationed out at West Hampton, West Hampton Air Force Base before they renamed it and so forth. But I never even, when I got out, I never really even considered, which, you know, hindsight is 2020. I should have went from Army to Air Force Reserve, you know, something like that. But a lot of my neighbors and a lot of my friends of the family also, like I can name, you know, you probably knew Roy Pitter.
I didn't know Pitter.
Yeah, he was a major.
I knew
Bob Hampton.
Langhorne.
Oh, Butch. Yeah,
Butch Langhorne.
John Langhorne.
Good guy.
Yeah,
You know?
I knew most of the guys I knew, my neighbors and so forth, were out there.
He ran the headquarters. He ran that desk. You walked in, he pointed you where to go.
Yeah.
And he had that center of gravity to him.
Yeah, he did have that. He still does.
He had like that, like a little bit of a booming voice, you know. And we got to get him down here to speak.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But so now you go from basic to AIT, infantry, right?
Yep.
You're probably in pretty good shape as it is, right? Go over there. What's the big thing that they're teaching you in infantry?
Well, the main thing we learned in infantry was using all weapons. We used all weapons. Plus, I was fortunate enough to be in a mechanized cav unit, so which we didn't get really a chance to use.
So what would that be considered, mechanized cavalry?
Okay, we had APCs.
Okay, armored personnel carriers,
armored
right?
personnel carriers, and we were attached to the first armored cav division.
Yeah.
Which had tanks and also armored personnel carriers.
But in the jungles of Southeast Asia,
They didn't work.
Didn't work, right?
They didn't work. Most of it was by foot or by a
Helicopter,
chopper. Yeah,
right.
a helicopter come get us and drop us off, and an LZ come pick us back up. Light weapons, we used 50 caliber heavy weapons.
Was there any one weapon that you became very proficient at?
I came proficient with both the AR-15 and the what's his name, the grenade launcher.
Was it the 209 underneath?
M79.
M79.
Yeah, I carried both. I didn't trust the over-under.
Yeah. All right.
and the 45.
You got to survive too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
that's what it's all about.
Sure. Did you feel as though your training from basic to AIT, that they did a good job with you?
Yeah, because that's all we did.
Yeah.
We didn't see. We went from basic to AIT, and then.
Well, was AIT like a mile away from where your basic was?
Everything was right there. It
was right there. You just stayed there, huh?
And never left Fort Lewis.
Wow. So it's that continuity.
And a lot of people don't realize that. See, Fort Lewis, that entire reservation, it's huge, and that's where when some outfits went to, I believe it was Louisiana, Fort Polk or something like that. We had our rainforest up there.
Sure.
And we also had up there a place called Yakima.
That's the proving grounds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Yakima can be 102, 115 degrees.
Yeah.
So that was like a desert also.
You know what the interesting thing about that, I had 4 brothers that I taught. They all went to West Point. Mm-hmm. They were probably the last true traditional 3-sport athletes in Rocky Point, right? Mm-hmm. These guys could do anything. They're physical, right?
Yeah.
And they would send me videos, and you'd feel it in your pocket like the phone going off, right?
Yeah.
But you can't take it out in front of the kids. So at break time, I'm taking the phone out, wondering what it is, and it's them firing at Yakima up there.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking they're like in Nevada or Utah, somewhere further south.
We were in
and they said we're up in Yakima.
We were in Yakima for, I think we were up there for 6-7 weeks.
Wow.
We dug in. We just practiced we did escape and evasion. We did everything up there. Then we went back to Fort Lewis, and then during the rainy season in Fort,
it was always raining.
It was always raining.
Yeah.
And then when that's what prepared us, because that was AIT and battalion training. So we had 2nd Battalion, 3rd Battalion, 5th, 8th Battalion.
What rank were you at that time there? Did they give you anything for being in college? Did you go from like private to private first class?
We were all, no one
had any stripes.
Any stripes. Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
They kept us at the same grade level or whatever until we all,
And you were trying to stay out of that yellow snow and everything because you were the lowest of the low, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps you humbled a little bit, right?
It keeps us all humbled. Yeah.
So now you get done with AIT. Does your family have an opportunity to go out west to see you before you go?
If they could afford to fly out there, because it wasn't like,
It's not around the corner.
No, it's not around the corner, and they didn't have, what do you call it nowadays, the frequent flyer. You paid $600 one way to get out to the West Coast. But we had a graduation. Well, we didn't even have a graduation because after AIT, we melded right into battalion training.
Yeah.
And then from battalion training, we went into brigade training, which was a 3rd Brigade. So all units of each battalion, we were just one big operation.
Fort Lewis is usually the last place you go in terms of sometimes getting shipped out on the Pacific side.
Yeah.
Or it's the first place you come back to.
Yeah.
So it's a huge
what happened,
facility, right?
We ended up packing up our equipment, and the next thing you know, we have some pictures somewhere. We wake up one morning and all of our APCs, armored personnel carriers, and our Jeeps are gone.
On a ship somewhere, right?
They're on a ship somewhere. And then we took our buses, with the Army buses, to Port of Tacoma, and they had a troop carrier waiting for us, the USNS Walker. And for 24 days...
You were at sea?
We were at sea with 3,600, with the brigade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you're on that ship. Do you go to Hawaii? Which way? How do you go over there? You go to Japan?
No, we made one stop in Okinawa.
Okinawa?
Stayed there for 3 days, and then from Okinawa we went to Vung Tau, Vietnam.
Yeah. South Vietnam. And that's, what time is that? Is that now still in 65 or is that 66 now?
66.
66,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're in the service for a while now.
Yeah.
What was that ride like over there? Were you like, I got to get off this boat?
Well, in the beginning, you start pinching yourself because you're trying to figure out, is this a dream?
Yeah.
This
doesn't look like Manorville.
This is not real.
Yeah.
But then again, we still have our, what's his name? We still have our brotherhood, our friends,
camaraderie.
Our buddies, camaraderie.
Did you become a good card player on the boat?
You played cards.
Yeah.
You did guard duty.
Yeah.
And you did guard duty at night, and daytime.
Was that an old like World War II or Korea vessel?
An old World War II.
Old, so it didn't really have too many luxuries on
and
there.
And the funny part about it is, if you're looking back on this, about 5 months ago, I'm walking through the building 200 at the VA, and there's a guy there. His name is Norman. He's a Korean War vet. Norman's about 93 years old, and he sees me coming in. He says, "Hey, Clarence, come here." He's an ambassador at the desk, and I said, "Yeah." He said, "How'd you get to Vietnam?" So I said, "By ship." He says, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah." He says, "Come here." So I walk over to the desk. I said, "What's going on, Norman?" He says, "What ship did you go on?" I said, "I went on a USNS Walker." He gets the book out. He says, "Here, this is for you."
Really?
It's the book on it's about so thick, on a USNS Walker.
It's a nice surprise, right?
But it was an experience.
Did any guys get in any trouble for doing anything dumb on there because they were just bored?
No, none of us. None of us.
Right?
None.
So it was a good group of guys.
Yeah,
right?
like I said, we were together from day one when we swore in.
Yeah.
Until we came.
So you had a
home.
bunch of guys like Long Island and city accents and everything, right? The guys from up in the Pacific Northwest probably did a double check to
there
you.
was a few of us. I mean, there were a couple of guys from Rhode Island, from Danbury, Connecticut, a couple of guys from Saginaw, Michigan.
Yeah, sure.
But we all, we're all in the 3rd platoon.
Yeah.
A company. But we had fun. I mean, and we played cards. I mean, there'd be a magazine going around. You get the magazine, say, "I read this before," and then you pass it, pass it around. The meals were, the meals, and you just
you can't beat the food from Long Island and New York City, right? The pastries, the pizza.
The first time I ever seen flying fish. It was just, I don't know, I forgot who the author was. I think it was, I can't remember who it was, I won't even try. But in school we read, water everywhere and not a drop to drink. That's true.
Wow.
I mean, for 24 days, all you see is water. You don't even see an airplane.
You see nothing. Right?
You see nothing.
Now you know how Christopher Columbus felt for a while there, right? So, all right. So now you get into South Vietnam.
Yeah.
How do you disembark from there?
Well, it was so funny because during our training in Fort Lewis, we built this tower. This tower must have been about 40 feet, 60 feet high, and it had the ropes on it.
Yeah.
So what happened when the ship drops anchor, I should say, in Vung Tau, we end up going down the ropes full pack, going down the side of
on the ropes itself.
Because we practiced in Fort Lewis all this time, how to come down. And we kept saying, well, I don't even know why we're doing this, but,
Nothing's easy. They just can't open up the door for you.
And they had the landing crafts there.
Yeah.
And, you start thinking about one thing that my father always did. We'd be watching, it'll be a Sunday night, and he'll say, "Clarence, come here, what are you doing?" "I'm listening to music, Daddy." Yeah. "Come on down, come over here, come here." And I go there, and he'd say, "Sit down and watch this." And I'd sit there to be "You Are There" or "Victory at Sea." Oh, Edward R. Murrow. And I used to get really upset with that. Because I want to watch this.
Yeah.
But that's what it was. And I'm thinking about it. I'm saying,
oh, I've seen this before.
I've seen this before. Yeah. I'm coming down the side of a ship into a landing craft with these guys. And then we get to the beach. In the front, and then we run up, there's our trucks and stuff there.
Were your legs almost like Jell-O a little bit because you're on the ship? You could only get so much exercise,
I
right?
know. Well, we did PT on the deck, but that wasn't really, But it was experience. It was an experience.
So when you hit the beach, right?
Yeah.
What part of the southern part of Vietnam are you in there?
Very south.
Very south.
Yeah, Vung Tau, very south part of Vietnam.
What hit you the first thing that hits you that you're in that country? Was it the heat?
Well, the heat wasn't that bad because, remember now, we're going over, we crossed the international date line, and now we're in our T-shirts.
Yeah.
Because the heat on the ship,
was oppressive, huh?
Yeah, very. So we were prepared for the heat when we got there.
Did it rain on you?
In Vietnam?
No, when you first got there, did it come down on you?
The heat?
Or the rain there?
It didn't rain yet.
Okay.
We got there, I'm trying to remember, I don't think it was monsoon yet.
Okay.
We got there before monsoon. But we get to the beach, and, they have a band there playing for us, and so forth. And then the next thing you know, we're getting on our trucks and our tanks and stuff and our tracks, and we're moving up country.
Now, was the vehicles already there?
Yeah.
So they were waiting on you guys coming in?
They were waiting for us, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And you're moving now to a military base where they're gonna like kind of indoctrinate you into the country, that sort of thing?
No,
None of that, huh?
no. We had helicopter support going up to a town called Bearcat. And Bearcat was like a tent city. And we stayed in Bearcat about 3 or 4 days.
Wow.
And then we moved on from there. And then we moved to a town called Kuchi. And we stayed in Kuchi for about 3 or 4 days.
I think Dennis Moran. Do you know Dennis?
No.
Big guy also.
Yeah. Maybe if I saw him.
If you saw him,
Yeah.
I think he might have been in
Yeah.
Kuchi itself there.
So we left Kuchi and we went to this big field in a rubber plantation in a town called Dao Tieng. And, excuse me, it was a big field. There was nothing there at all.
Wow.
And we built it from the ground up.
Wow.
And then we left.
Huh.
And that was our base camp. We came back every 40 days, 35, 40 days. We'd be out, come back, 2 or 3 days, go back out again.
All right, so we're going to come back to Clarence for a third episode. We're going to talk about his experiences during the Vietnam War, in country, looking at some of the things that he might have done in the field, especially being a member of the infantry, on hmTv and the Fog of War and Humanity.